Welcome to your weekly fantasy football recap. I'm your host, Krim Barflow. Let's get the low-hanging fruit bowl out of the way early. John lost again, this time to Mike and 2.5 Burrows. Not much to cover here, really, as John seems to be expecting different results with the same roster, and once again, unable to crack over 100 points. But John wasn't alone in the sub-100 point club this week, as he was joined there by Team Cody. Yet another week of a team failing to roster a full squad, as he not only started 2 inactive players, but couldn't even be bothered to start a second quarterback, despite having Bo Nix on his bench. His opponent, Grant, was the beneficiary of this unavailing effort, only claiming victory by 18 points. I'm being told by league officials that the recent string of absent team management will no longer be tolerated, and that teams will now risk their place in the league next season with a majority vote. Next up in the uninspiring managers parade, it's Chris and Team Seymour Audible, facing off against the current king of the mountain, Chuck and Houday and the Blowfish. It was one of the closer finishes for Chuck, only winning by 19 points. Chris continues to lean heavily on his tight ends, revealing his other major holes in the process. Next up, this week's blowout game sees Derek and the Critical Hits shellacking Logan and the Hot Logs. Despite getting a total of 7 points from Demario Douglas, Jordan Whittington, and Jalen Waddle, Derek still put up this week's highest point total. This marks the 3rd straight losing week for Logan, and fans are starting to get concerned. Now to Pack's interference with the Game of the Week.
Thanks, Krim. Once again, our Game of the Week features defending champions Akuna and Jigba facing off against Olave Garden. It was another absolute heartbreaker. Alex saw his chance of victory crumble before him as he watched Jaden Daniels exit the game in the first quarter and Brandon Ayuk suffer a season-ending knee injury, leaving him 9 points short the victory. On the backs of St. Brown and Barkley, Dalton was able to hold off the champions, forcing Alex to 6-8 for the season. Back to you, Krim.
Thanks, Pax. Great work out there as usual. And on that note, let's have a look at the season standings to this point. In the East, Chuck still holds firm command over the division. Digging deeper into the numbers, Chuck still has the most points scored in the league, but only Dalton has had fewer points scored against him. Behind him, the surging Mike now boasts the 2nd most points scored in the league, followed by Alex, who trails only John in the points against category, trailed by Cody, who still has all of his fab, and the reeling Logan. In the West, Derek still heads the pack, with Grant nipping closely at his heels. This week's win has moved Dalton into 3rd place atop of Chris. And then there's John. Poor John. Now, a look at the upcoming matchups. Who will win at the Battle of Bottom Dwellers between John and Logan? Can Mike catch up to Chuck with a victory against Dalton? Can Grant pull off the seemingly improbable with an upset against Chuck? Find out next week. And as always, best of luck, competitors.